Madam Speaker, we are used to being gaslit in this place. We are used to being told untruths. But to have the minister stand there and say he loves scrutiny is beyond the pale. This is a minister who has been allowed to get away with just 2 hours of scrutiny in the Environment and Parks portfolios. And we know, of course, Madam Deputy Speaker, that Labor was prepared to cut that number to 1.5 hours. This is a minister who allegedly loves scrutiny that ran away from Dr Woodruff's question at the end of question time about the impact of industrial fish farming on public waterways. The minister can stand there, Madam Deputy Speaker, and say it's due to seasonal factors. I encourage the minister to go down to beautiful White Beach on the Tasman Peninsula. That is not a seasonal algae contamination event. That is now a permanent coating of green algae all over beautiful White Beach. White Beach is no longer white, Madam Deputy Speaker. I encourage the minister who thinks this is a seasonal issue to go around the corner to Long Bay, where again there is slime mats, slime coating all through Long Bay. I encourage the minister to go to Bruny Island, Madam Deputy Speaker, where again you see the contamination of public waterways from industrial fish farming. And as Dr Woodruff has pointed out, Madam Deputy Speaker, a huge part of the problem here is the fact that we do not have an independent Environment Protection Authority. The EPA has been given its marching orders by government, and that is to prioritise industry. This is not a government that prioritises environmental protection, and we know that as a result of the estimate schedule, Madam Speaker. And in this place, through that schedule, Madam Speaker, this House is letting down young people. Members of both major parties are letting down young people. They're letting down their own children, Madam Deputy Speaker. They are letting down every Tasmanian community group who is concerned about this government's neglect of nature and, in fact, ongoing degradation of nature and the public commonwealth of our public lands and our public marine waterways, Madam Speaker. And I think it's telling that Ms Standen gets up in this place, did not talk about the natural environment, couldn't bring herself to do that. And I've racked my brain, Madam Deputy Speaker, to think about if Labor has ever, in the last 6 years, asked a question that goes simply to environmental matters, or asked a question about the protection of parks, or asked a question about real climate action. I can't find one, Madam Speaker, in my memory bank, and I don't believe there has been one. Now, Madam Speaker, we have for this year's estimates 30 minutes dedicated to the climate portfolio. That is shameful. 2 hours dedicated to environment and parks from 5 hours last year. Again, that is shameful. And it lets down a vast array of community groups. The Hobart Walking Club, the Pandani Walking Club, the Australian Heritage Council, the North West Fisheries Association, the Circular Head Walking Club, the Southern Tasmania Licensed Anglers Association, the Tasmanian National Parks Association, the Anglers Alliance, the North West Walking Club, Bushwalking Tasmania, BirdLife Tasmania, the Tasmanian Wilderness Society, the Tasmanian Aboriginal Heritage Council, the Tasmanian Fly Tyres Club, the Environmental Defenders Office, the Friends of the Great Western Tiers, the Tasmanian Land Conservancy, the Tasmanian Conservation Trust. All of these are community groups, Madam Deputy Speaker, that put in a public submission on the Lake Malbina original comment process to the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act not assessment at the federal level. Of course, we also have both major parties wilfully letting down organisations like the East Coast Alliance. We've only got 1 hour, for example, to quiz the Minister on Planning. when there are significant planning questions outstanding as a result of the passage of the major projects legislation, the almost certainty that the Mount Wellington Cableway Company will lodge a major projects application for the cable car up Kununyi, the very live prospect that the developer of Cambria Green will do the same thing, again giving a massive middle finger to the East Coast Alliance, to the Planning Matters Alliance, Madam Deputy Speaker. And in the Parks portfolio, what we've got is large-scale privatisation. We've got a government bending over backwards for private developers. We've got a Director of Parks who is basically a free real estate salesman. And all those excellent people who work in parks to protect our parks are being undermined by this government's development at any cost approach to public protected areas. Everyone who works in a visitors centre, everyone who works to try to protect threatened species and to properly manage our parks, their work is being daily undermined by this government and the senior management in the Parks Service. And I'm quite comfortable saying that, Madam Deputy Speaker, because it's true. Because under this government, we had the senior management in Parks determine that the Lake Malbina assessment, originally to go to the federal government, would be at a level 3 reserve activity assessment instead of where it should have been at level 4, which would have required public consultation. Madam Deputy Speaker, this government's record on environment and parks absolutely speaks for itself, and right across Tasmania there are community groups that understand that deeply. Madam Deputy Speaker, like the Fishers and Walkers who gathered at the Liberal Party State Conference on Saturday morning and rightly blasted helicopter noise at the government members who would trash wilderness values at Halls Island in Lake Malbina, Madam Speaker, in the walls of Jerusalem National Park. This government's record on the environment and parks speaks for itself.